chat, and we're going to give all the channels a chance to connect, but we are live now. This is Indy. Welcome, everybody, to the first episode ever of Friends of Indy Left. Let me turn off that app right there. No, it's not turning off. I got you. See, now we're doing it live. All right. Well, welcome, everyone, to Friends of Indy Left. And thank you so much for being here and checking this out. I'm excited to launch this new show, which I thought would be a great way for all of us to learn more about the people whose work and analysis we amplify regularly in Independent Left News and Leftist.today, even in our Discord server, Independent Left GG. The idea behind creating the show is to learn, again, what makes these fantastic people tick. There's a reason why we include their content in our aggregator site, and we want you to see what we see. So, I advertised who our first guest was, so I'm going to get right to it. So with no further ado, welcome Sabby Sabs, the wonderful, the terrific Sabrina Salvati, who doobie do. Welcome. I'm so honored that
Hi, Andy.
I'm so honored that you agreed to join us and to be here and to sit in on this and to participate. And you're always game for all new stuff. And again, I thank you for being here and for doing that. For everybody who doesn't know, I want to do a proper introduction. Sabrina Salvati, Sabby Sabs. She is the host of the Sabby Sabs podcast and show on YouTube and Rockfin. She is a member of the Revolutionary Blackout Network. She is launching a new channel on the roundtable.io network. And again, I just want to welcome her in. Cool. So, first question that I had is, and I started talking to you a little bit beforehand, and I was like, we should save this for the stream. I only really discovered Sabby Sabs in 2021, but of course, you've been doing this a while. So I want to learn a little bit about, your journalism career and how you got here and how we got to having this conversation today. I'd love to hear your side of that. So I'm going to let you talk and that's what this is about, to learn about you.
Sure. So I majored in broadcast journalism in undergrad. Didn't find a job in broadcast journalism after undergrad. I graduated during that time of, let's just say the economy was very bad during that time. Did a couple internships, ended up working in healthcare. That's how I found out about the healthcare system in this country and how horrible the insurance companies are. And then I ended up going to grad school for higher education administration, academic advisor for a little over 10 years. And then I wanted to still pursue my passion, which was journalism, broadcast journalism. So I started doing so through YouTube in the beginning because I was living in the city. I live in Boston, Massachusetts, well, outside of Boston, Massachusetts now. And I really didn't have the space and I didn't have the equipment to do a show the way that I wanted to. I lived on a very busy street. It was loud. There was a lot of construction. So I started on YouTube actually doing vlogs and doing how-to videos. And I educated people about higher education, how to get into some of these colleges, basically educational videos. The plan was always to eventually move to a podcast format once I had the space and once I had the equipment. And then when we moved during the pandemic, I was like, yes, I finally have the space and the equipment to do what I really want to do. And so that's when I started to do that transition. I've watched independent media for years. And one of the things that I noticed that I felt was missing is that there weren't enough women. There weren't enough African Americans. I felt like this space was primarily dominated by white men who were speaking for marginalized groups. And I felt like it's important for people to hear from those marginalized groups. So that's why I started to do this. I was a big Bernie supporter. Obviously, you guys probably figured that out, but I was a big Bernie supporter. And I was ultimately crushed when Bernie suspended his campaign. And I felt that same kind of disappointment that I felt with President Obama, somebody I thought that was actually really going to come in and implement change. He did not do that, obviously, as we saw. And Bernie, for me, was like a second hope in a way. And I thought, okay, maybe this time it's actually going to happen. So I definitely wanted to do a show to give like my opinion and my perspective about the two-party system, electoral politics, and the money that's involved. And I think it's important that people focus more so on the money and not so much on the personalities.
Definitely. And so you started streaming and you started doing YouTube political stuff really after the Bernie campaign kind of gave up in 2020. Is that when it was? 2021? When did you start doing the Sabby Sabs show, like more politics than educational stuff?
It was January 2021. It was actually right after Force the Vote. I started off interviewing activists and grassroots candidates that were running through the Democratic Party, through progressive Democrats, basically. I started off interviewing those people and activists like Savage Joy, um, Christina Livio came on, Chris
Mhm.
Smalls. So I started off in that realm. And I didn't do live streams back then. I only did uploads like on YouTube. And what I found along the way is that uploads, like the editing, it requires a lot of work. It doesn't work well for the algorithm. And then I switched over to a live stream format and started doing news along with interviews as well.
Oh, that's great. And we're all grateful that you did, because you're definitely one of my favorites to watch, I got to tell you. Um, Again, we cover about 150 different outlets between YouTube and print journalism. You bring strong takes on a regular basis. I have to say, and you're not afraid to disagree with somebody or to say something unpopular, and we totally respect and appreciate that. Again, that's great. And again, I appreciate you talking about a little bit about how you got here. I'd love to learn a little bit about how you met CJ and JB. Was that all kind of through the Birdie movement, and how you guys figured out to come together as a group and a network, and that whole rise, of course, is fascinating to me as somebody who recently put some independent streamers together for a network. So that was one question that was on my mind, pressing more than anything, was exactly how did you guys all come together and then decide, hey, we should do this? Because thank you for doing it, by the way.
Yeah, so I met all of them on Twitter. Actually, it's really interesting. We haven't met in person. Well, some of us have met in person, but we're in different time zones in different states. But I met them on Twitter. The first one I met was Rome, and at that point, I think his Twitter tag was look, look a black atheist. And he was saying a lot of things that I felt, and I was like, I don't know who this guy is, but I really need to get him to come on. So Rome was actually one of my first guests that came onto my show, and he was talking about Force the Vote and the importance of Force the Vote and why it was important that the squad should have done that. So I met Rome first on Twitter, then I met Nick, and Nick again, he canvassed for Bernie Sanders. He was talking a lot about that on Twitter, and then after that came like CJ and RJ and all of them, everyone from the beginning of RBN, that was back when it was FHL.
Sure.
That's how I met them. And then I invited CJ on my show when he was talking about the Bernie Sanders movement, and he said something that really resonated with me. You shouldn't have a movement through an electoral campaign.
Hmm.
And he had a list of reasons as to why and what Bernie did and why that didn't work. And that really kind of woke me up in a sense, because I think a lot of us we liked Bernie's movement and we agreed with like him on the issues, but I don't think we really stopped and thought, well, what happens if Bernie doesn't win? What happens to this movement? And that was something that CJ noticed, and he talked about that like often. So that's how that all happened. Like we did meet like on Twitter, and I think we just all clicked. Which is interesting because I've met people in person
Hmm.
that I can see and interact with like on a weekly basis, and we don't click the way that all of us did and we met online.
I got to tell you, the number of people that I've talked to that have been inspired by you guys doing mutual aid and that now are doing it themselves, sharing, amplifying, understanding the importance, of course, but really just how easy it actually is to do and to make a difference in somebody else's life, a big difference. And it's the person sitting next to you that you can actually see and feel and have impact on. And I think a lot of people just weren't even thinking about that, to be honest, until you guys started talking about that on a regular basis. Like, look, there are people that are sitting next to you that need the help, and let's start by helping them instead of thinking about necessarily these huge problems. And that's a credit to CJ, credit to all of the folks over at RBN and FHL. And I really think that was one of the biggest, strongest messages that all of you brought out, that and the activism work. And of course, Afeni as part of the group, and she came on like a house of fire as well. And you've introduced so many new names and faces and people and ideas into the space just this year. Honestly, I think that that group, your group, has been kind of a breath of fresh air in a lot of ways, and it's gone through some challenges, and everybody does. And but I'll tell you, I think in the end you've come out stronger, and look what you put together with the General Strike Summit over 3 days. And I got, again, just kudos and aces to the way that this meteoric rise has happened in just a short period of time. I did want to ask about some of your favorite mutual aid orgs. Since we're talking about mutual aid, we can shout out some of them and give them some amplification. Maybe they can use that and clip it.
Well, I'm gonna be biased here, but definitely, obviously, Tour for the Poor that Rome does, because that's a national organization. So Rome goes across the country to different states, giving people food and clothes, and also educating them and talking to them about the importance of socialism, the problem with the two-party system, the problem that we have with capitalism in this country. I think that's heavily important. I have been volunteering since I was in high school. That's when I started getting into volunteering, but that was done, I guess, more so through charities, so to speak. It was a little bit different. I volunteered for, Habitat for Humanity. I volunteered with the Girl Scouts. So that's something that I've been doing for a long time. But when it comes to mutual aid, that's different because you are actually making an impact on someone's life. You're giving them things that they really need. You're giving them food, you're giving them clothes, but you're also giving them education. And I
Mm-hmm.
think what I noticed from a lot of those charities that I was involved with, we would collect like winter clothes for kids and give them out at schools. We would work with the Girl Scouts. We would do those things, but we weren't really giving them the education piece. And I think that part is important and crucial as well. And that's something that the Black Panthers did. They didn't just feed and clothe people, they also educated them as well.
Yeah, that's really important for sure. I also wanted to shout out Afeni's org. I think it's Freedom Fighters DC. They do some amazing work in helping to feed the hungry, and especially in fighting for housing justice. I know that they're especially passionate about that, and that's another area we could certainly get into. I wanted to ask one thing. What would people be surprised to learn about you?
Oh dear. What can I say on here, Indy? I'm just kidding. Surprised to learn about me. Oh boy. I think I've kind of put it all out. Well, maybe not actually. Some people might be surprised to know that I was an athlete. I don't think I've talked about that like
Really?
ever once, like on my show. Yeah, I was an athlete. I played, like, when I was in middle school, I played basketball, I played soccer, I played softball. And I think, looking back on it, that really taught me how to be part of a team. And something I didn't think about back then. I was just like, I liked sports and I wanted to play and I wanted to win. I didn't really think so much about how that would affect me later on in life. But I think being on a sports team really showed me how to be part of a team and to work with other people. And so I think that when I got into college, joining other organizations, my first, I guess, real job, you would say, after I graduated from college, having to be on teams, sometimes multiple teams in the workplace, I think that's something that I think I did well in, that because I came from sports and we were taught that we had to work together in order to play well, in order to win. So I think a lot of people don't know that, is that I was an athlete.
Wow. And what's your favorite sports now to still watch? Are you still playing? Are you still active in any sports?
I'm not active in any sports now, but to watch, like I still love to watch football. That's my favorite sport to watch. And then after that, probably college basketball. And favorite sport to play is still basketball.
And are you a Patriots fan? I'm guessing since you're in the Boston area.
I am a Patriots fan, and I am bummed that we lost yesterday. We really needed to win that game, but Miami has always given us trouble. I don't know why, but we always have difficulty when we play them.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to catch up with that yesterday. That's family stuff, but I did see that. And my nephew is a big Pats fan because they live up in the Springfield area. So, um, I did also want to talk about some of the new upcoming. Like you're involved in so many different projects, and there's a couple of new ventures that I know that you're involved with. One of which is the women's. There's a women's conference that's upcoming. Well, first of all, you're planning a women's summit, correct? Is that correct? Next month, an online women's summit.
Correct. Yeah, so I'm hosting a women's summit February 26th and February 27th. There will be 4 panels. I can go ahead and list the panels for you. Women's healthcare, violence against women, women's activism, and women in the workplace. And I chose those topics in particular because I feel that these are things that we do need to discuss. We talk about it more so on a general level, but we need to talk about how these issues affect women in particular, especially violence against women, because that's been an ongoing issue in this country for a long time. So that should be a pretty cool event. I've already booked a lot of people for that so far. I'm waiting on a couple more confirmations, and then you guys will start to see promos for that as well.
Wow, that's awesome. Thank you. And again, it's a lot of work to organize these events. I don't know how from people that are watching on the back end. And again, we don't. What we want to do is we're getting education out of this. We're not making money, quote unquote. This is not for profit. This is for education. This is for raising awareness in the space. And again, I'm a huge supporter, and I'll do all I can to amplify. And of course, it'll be included in the Left News and Leftist Today. I know you're also involved in an event that Sharif is planning, I believe, on March 8th. Are you involved
Yes.
with that? Mm-hmm.
I'm involved on the I'm not sure if I'll be able to be there in person because it's on a Tuesday for March 8th, so I may not be there in person, but I am involved with the logistics. So Sharif did include me in that group as well. So I told him I could try to help and amplify as many ways as possible as he needs, even if it's marketing or promo materials as well.
Yeah, and that's an International Women's Day, I believe he's holding, correct? So that's great, and again, so many things are involved with, and now this new venture with Roundtable, and I'm really excited to learn a little bit more about Roundtable. I went and I looked at your page, and for anybody that hasn't seen it, let me drop it in the chat. It's actually in the description for the video now, wherever you are, unless you're on Twitter, in which case go to Sabby's Twitter page, and you'll be able to find the Roundtable link on there. But talk a little bit about Roundtable. I know you did a little 2-minute commercial on your channel, and I watched it, and I've shared it quite a bit. But I want everyone else to hear it that hasn't had a chance to hear about it yet. Right from you.
Absolutely. So Roundtable is a new platform. It's solely for independent media. So in reference to, if you were to compare it to like YouTube or Rumble, it's different in the sense that you won't go on Roundtable and find vlogs or like cooking videos. It's just journalism from independent people. So a couple of months ago, they reached out to me and we had couple of meetings, and they asked me if I was interested to partner with them or to become a partner with them. And after what I saw, I thought like this is a good idea. Like we need to have a platform that's solely for like journalism, whether it's video or whether it's articles as well. So I signed on with them, and my site just recently launched. So what's cool about Roundtable is you can go onto the site And if you wanted to just see like journal articles, you can just read articles. If you want to see videos, you can see videos. But everybody that's a partner with Roundtable has their own Roundtable site. So everything that you see me produce, whether it's on YouTube or Substack, which I'm going to get back into writing more articles for Substack soon, will all be connected on my Roundtable site, and it will redirect you to those sites as well. So it's another place to introduce more traffic. I think that's important because independent media is heavily suppressed on YouTube, as you guys can tell. So you need to be on as many platforms as possible, and this is something I recommend for everybody. Don't just rely on YouTube. Try Rockfin as well. I'm also going to try to check out Rumble. You need to be on as many platforms as possible because you never know what's going to happen with YouTube. So I am really excited about it. There were a couple guys that came together and created Roundtable. One of them actually ran third party. Some of you might be familiar with him, Brock Pierce. He was also in the Mighty Ducks, which I know that's random, but he was. I didn't realize that at the time. Robert, also who I first met with, he's worked with NBC. He's worked with all of these different like mainstream media networks, and basically, kind of like a lot of us, he got tired of the information that was being put out, and so he left that and decided to work more with independent media. So yeah, I'm really excited about it. I'm really pumped, and I think we need more of this, something where it's just for independent media, so people can have that source and not have to fiddle through YouTube and depend on the algorithm.
Oh, this is a great page. I'm actually sharing it on screen right now for everybody to see while you've been talking about it. And at the you can even buy Sabby Sabs merch. Check that out. You've got the merch store attached to it too. Love it. So everything that is the world of Sabby Sabs in one central location here at roundtable.io. So everybody, please go check this out and sign up for this. I'm a fan. I like what I'm seeing here. This is a really cool platform, and I like the concept. I actually did watch some of the independent debates last year or in 2020, and I actually kind of was digging what Brock Pierce had to say. So when I heard that he was involved with this, I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. I'm down with that. And now that I see that you're involved and that Nico's involved, I'm like, all right, well, how do I get involved now? So hopefully in the near future, this platform will be expanding to some other people and some other content creators, and we'll see a lot more of our people from our space in here. Now I know that you also said that it's not just left independent media, but also right independent media, but it's open to independent media and not just from the political vertical, but all verticals, correct?
Correct. And they also do a roundtable on Roundtable, which I've already done one of those with Teddy. Teddy came on my show last week. I met him on a roundtable. And what they'll do is they'll put you together with people that have a different opinion, which is honestly that's the way it should be, right? Like it gets boring sometimes just bringing on people who agree with you on everything. So
Mm-hmm.
they'll put together people that have a difference of opinion, but they're knowledgeable about the subject matter that's being presented. So I was on a panel with Teddy, LA Progressive, and Robert, and we were talking about the class race issue. And it was a really interesting discussion. So they do roundtables as well. But again, I think the difference is like you're with people that have a difference of opinion.
Well, and again, I think it's really important because you can change their minds, and we see that happen. And what you really find is that we agree on about 75% of the issues, and we fight about 25% of the issues pretty hardcore, but most of the things we all agree on, and maybe it's the nuance of exactly how we want to get there. But I think having platforms that show that we actually can have conversations where we can have disagreements, have in-depth conversation where we both come away saying, well, I respect what you have to say and you respect what I have to say, but we're going to agree that they're both valid points, but they're in counter to each other. That can happen too. I mean, again, just super excited about this platform, that the fact that you're on it and helping to launch it. And my goodness, there's so many other things like I had set up here. Let me see what else I've got in my notes. Where to go? Now it just disappeared, of course. I lost my notes. Yay. So talk to me about God, there's so many. Here we go. Now I got you here. Talk to me about God. Well, so now you're doing Roundtable, you're doing RBN, you have your show that you do like 4 nights a week, and you have you do the Roundtable shows at RBN. You have your show that you do Friday nights there. You're now doing I'm sorry, I forgot one. The Women's Solidarity panel, the Women of Color panel that you do every Sunday night, every fourth Sunday night. That debuted.
Mhm.
How do you have the time to do all this? When do we sleep?
I think for me, like, so these live streams that I do, they aren't incredibly long, right? So I'm usually live minimum 1 hour, max maybe an hour and a half. So that is time that I used to spend like just watching uh cringeworthy TV shows. So it's like I could take that time that I'm using to watch like TV shows that aren't really like educating me the way that I feel they should, and use it towards something that's more productive. So that was kind of how I looked at that. And so because of that, I do watch less television now. I mainly don't really watch cable anyway, unless I'm watching like sports. But I like the fact that it's cut down my TV watching time,
Mhm.
so I can use my time in a more productive manner. So for me, there's not a lot of prep work I have to do for these shows because I'm talking about things that I am knowledgeable about. If I'm not as knowledgeable about them and I have a guest coming on, they're educating me too. So, and not just people in the audience. And also when it comes to news, this was something someone asked me recently. They were like, how do you do three like news stories like every night that you go live? And I'm like, well, news is all over Twitter,
Mhm.
and you can listen to news. Like if you're your car, like you can just turn on the news. Like news is all around us. I don't really have to sit down and watch like this long episode from CNN or MSNBC. So you use the resources that are available to you and are available in a quick, like rapid way. Also, give a shout out to Case Study QB because he does a lot of clips on Twitter, a lot of news clips, which I find to be very helpful. But that's pretty much like my go-to is like social media, Twitter, and then I like to double check things and fact check them before I talk about them on the show. But other than that, I don't have a lot of prep work that I have to do.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, that's really funny. Your story sounds a lot like mine in a way that I was watching a lot of junk TV and sitting on the couch and not being productive, and then again just kind of got fired up and inspired. Like, we need to fight this whole media narrative and this whole media machine that the corporate narrative is and the propaganda is out of control. And how do we amplify and aggregate all that into one central space? And again, I love that you found a lane to do that. I found a lane. We've all kind of found our lane, and we've built this whole infrastructure. And again, this does come out of the Bernie movement, out of what's next. And again, love that you had that discussion with CJ about that. I wanted to also ask one final question about advice to people who are also inspired to try this, but they may be scared or hesitant because I'm sure you had moments where like I don't know if I want to do this, and this is a lot of work, and yeah, it's fun to do this, but I'm putting myself out there, I'm putting my face and my name, and there's who knows out there. So advice to people who are I know there's a lot of people that are inspired by you and that might want to do this. So some words of encouragement or some even warning to here's what you can expect if you decide to do this.
Absolutely. In the beginning, I think that it was more difficult because no one knew who I was. My channel's small. My channel's still small, but my channel was really small back then. And I think that's something that I want you to be prepared for. Like, if you decide to do this, don't be surprised if you try to get guests to come on and no one responds, or they just say, well, no. Like, don't be surprised. Don't take that personal. A lot of times, like, people feel more comfortable coming on when they know you or they've been introduced to you. And I understand that too, because you can go on someone's show and you never know what kind of questions you're going to get hit with, right?
Hmm.
So that is something that you have to keep in mind, is that there are people who've been doing this for a long time and they've built relationships with people in this space. And when you're new, they just don't know you, right? So you have to give that time. I think with some people, honestly, I think I got lucky. I think, like, for example, like, I had a guest come on like very early on who they happened to see a vlog that I did about gentrification in Boston. And they liked that vlog. So they said, yes, I'm coming on. Sometimes it's a hit or a miss. Sometimes you just get lucky, but just be prepared for that. Like, don't be surprised if you're not getting responses like earlier on. What you want to do is just continue to do the work, um, keep improving what you do, and then eventually, like, people will come. I hate to say, like, field of dreams, but eventually people will come.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to be prepared for that. In reference to growth, again, it takes time. Like, I still can't believe that I grew kind of the way that I did. Like, I was not expecting to grow as fast as I did. But I think part of it has to do with the fact that talking about issues that I've been told that people have been wanting to hear, like, in this space, and they've wanted to see a different perspective. So I think that helped me. And also there were people that came on my show and like promoted my show to people. So that helped me a lot too. So just be prepared for that and be willing to do the work. I highly recommend that you post as much content as possible to get around the algorithm. That really helps. Live streaming is best to get around the algorithm. You can start with uploads if you don't feel comfortable jumping into a live stream just yet. That's how I started. Other than that, I would say, I think gone are the days where you can upload like a 7 minute, 8 minute video, you get all these views. That just doesn't seem to work for newer channels. For people who've been doing that for a long time, it does. But right now, it's like the algorithm seems to want longer content. And that's
Hmm.
why the live streams are key. Another thing I would tell you in reference to the equipment can be expensive. I mean, for me, like I told you, it took a while before I could actually purchase the equipment that I needed. I would say, like, when you start out, just start out like with what you have. Like, if you're using your phone, just use your phone. And you can tell like your audience, like, set up a Kofi, set up a Patreon, and ask them to donate so that you can get more equipment like as you go on. But don't do what I did and like feel like you can't start at all until you have all of the equipment. I think that's important for people to know. And then also, like, collaborate with people in this space. That was
Oh
something I
yeah.
felt was missing for such a long time. Like, I'd watch all of like left independent media. There didn't seem to be collaborations unless there was like some type of debate. Like, collaborate with people in this space. Everybody who has a smaller channel, all of us should be collaborating and working together as much as possible. I think that's only going to help audience cross over and introduce audiences to other people.
Yeah, totally agree. Awesome. And thank you for sharing all those great tips of advice. Again, everybody loves watching your stuff. I really do. It's entertaining, it's fun, it's educational. It can be spicy at times. You're introducing us to new people, and we love that, and totally appreciate it. And again, that was my last question for today, and it's running up a little bit more than a half an hour. I really appreciate your time, and I thank everybody for coming in and hanging out in chat today. I did want to address a couple of people. I wanted to answer that the reason why I'm not on camera is because I hide my face because I'm in a right-wing industry, and I don't want to potentially lose a customer or upset one of the company I work for's customers if they heard a couple of my takes or saw what I was sharing, and it's out of respect for the people that I work for. But and really what I want to do is focus on the streamers and on the content creators themselves anyway, because this is about them. This has never been about me. It's only about the questions that I think other people also have as well. And again, I appreciate you joining us today. I appreciate everybody joining us today. And again, thank you so much. And we're gonna cut out for today. And I'm gonna steal Sabby's line and was it good night and hit it. Can you do it?